Welcome to the dark side of BEASTwriter. I'm your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we have the honor and privilege meeting up with my guy. You guys all know who he is, Case Keefer of the Las Vegas Sun. Case, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. I don't know about the honor and privilege part, but that music got me pumped up. That's a nice intro you got together with the storm and everything. And sorry about my lighting. I got a ray of light coming in on me. I don't it doesn't look the best, but happy to chat some football with you either way.
No, it's all good, man. It's very casual here in the dark side of BEASTwriter. So, for those who don't know Case, I'm just gonna open it up, man. This guy predicted 3 guys to be drafted by the Raiders, and he doesn't like to toot his own horn, so I'm going to toot it for him. He predicted 3 players to be drafted: Matthew Butler, Neil Farrell, and also Thayer Munford. And he hit on all 3 of those guys. Now, he had a list of a few guys, but it wasn't like an elaborate 25-player list. It was like literally only picked like 15 to 20 players, and he got 3 of them. It's crazy. He got them right. I listed that article in the description box here on YouTube, so go ahead and follow my guy. Also, he's on Twitter at Case Keefer. And Case, what are your thoughts? We're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. So let's just go ahead and talk about some transactions. What do you know of Jacob Hollister being signed today from the Minnesota Vikings?
I mean, not a whole lot. Of course, we saw him a little bit in training camp, and didn't really do anything that super stood out. Didn't do anything wrong either. Just of course, they have 2 great tight ends, and then had some other guys in training camp. So ultimately, it didn't work out. But makes sense that now that they're a little short with Darren Waller on IR to bring him back in. So don't know how much we'll see him or how much insight I have there. I found out at the same time as all you guys. But a familiar face, knows the system, so it made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think Jacob Hollister, maybe because my time with the San Francisco 49ers, I saw him a lot. He seemed to do really well. He's one of those players that's very smart, and I think that's one thing that I can kind of gravitate toward or kind of see from these players that they're bringing in. They may not be the best skill players in terms of at their position, but they're very smart from the shoulders up, and I think that's one of the things that Coach McDaniels and GM Dave Ziegler want to bring in is they want to bring in smart football players who can understand the dynamics of whether it be an offensive scheme or a defensive scheme. So Jacob Hollister, I thought it was a sound, underrated pickup. He's not, I mean, let's be honest, he's not going to be a player that's going to be like, oh my gosh, he's going to the Pro Bowl or anything like that. But when you look at what's out there and what's available, I thought it was a very, very sound, underrated move. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Raiders and Colts preview. The injury report came out. Our guy, Will Kiss, gave us the injury report lowdown on what's going on there. What are your thoughts on the injury report that came out today in terms of both organizations?
Yeah, I mean, no real surprises with the Raiders. Denzel Perryman, who missed 1 practice earlier in the week, I think has been limited the last 2 days. Figured he'd be questionable, and I believe that's the only really newsworthy thing on the Raiders, that he will be questionable going into Sunday. The Colts, I think, a lot bigger. They added Shaquille Leonard to IR today, right? I mean, that was a big one to me. I don't know. I liked the Raiders earlier in the week, and I still think you have to pick the Raiders in this situation. But I started kind of, as I dove into the matchup a little bit more, I started going, God, I don't know. They've blown so many games, and there's a path to the Colts being relevant here, but and being in this game. But I thought one of those paths was how well Shaquille Leonard, not only how good he's been as a player his whole time in the NFL, especially the last couple of years, but he'd really been good against the Raiders as well. The Raiders they've played them. I think this is the 5th straight year they've played them. And the Raiders haven't really run the ball on them at all the last couple of years. I think Josh Jacobs has been kind of ineffective against them, and I think Leonard's been a big part of that. So he was one of the reasons why I was starting to say, okay, I could see a path to a Colts victory here. Now he's out. I think one of the most impactful players on that side. So that's not one to gloss over. I think that was a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, follow my guy, Case Keefer. He also brings out his predictions. To be honest with you, I like picking his brain every time I see him because I'm like, hey, man, what do you think about this game? What do you think about this game? What do you think about this game? You are very analytical in your approach to the game, just like I am in my grading system. I think we kind of like bounce off each other the ideas, and it's kind of like, it's funny because when I ask you something, you already know the question, like how to respond to that question. Like it's like clockwork for you. How long have you been doing that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think, we probably look at, we're coming from 2 very different angles that really might not be all that different. Because I know you're a film guy, player grades, looking at, doing analytics from that. And me, like even before I covered the Raiders or covered the NFL, like I covered sports betting and did, bet pretty seriously, especially the last few years. So numbers in that perspective and applying them, figuring out what means the most, the betting wise, which a lot of full team, more forward predictive looking analytics are big to me. But then realizing, how much each player means and what kind of effect that'll have. So, I really come from that background, and that's the way I'm looking at everything I think you're a lot the same way, but kind of applying it in a different way, at different positions. So, yeah, it's been quite a while now. I mean, I've been in Vegas since 2009. I was always interested in like the gambling stuff. I was kind of born to lose, and that way, I guess you could say I was always going to have that vice. My family's kind of in the gambling industry in one way or another, and that's one reason I always loved Vegas. And just being here for so long, I feel like I got better and better at it. Now it's a big part of my life, both professionally and personally. So I guess that's the background. It's so hard to find edges in gambling, especially sports betting, that I think you really have to make use of all that you can, and that certainly includes analytics in this day and age. If you're not doing this from a numbers perspective or putting a lot of analytics into your work, then in my opinion, you have no chance to win long term.
No, absolutely, 100%. You hit on the nail. And to be honest with you, there's people that don't want to do the analytics because they don't even know where to start. Let's just be 100 about it. So you do a really good job at that. I just wanted to tell you, you're doing a tremendous job. I talk to my girlfriend about it all the time. Like every time we go, she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm dude. My boy Case told me." I'm joking with you. But I did have this conversation with you, and you're more right than wrong. It's great. It's great. It's great. Everybody needs to follow Case. I'm telling you guys right now, you won't be disappointed. All right, Case. So let's go ahead and talk about this. I don't know if I talked to you about. I think we talked about. I mean, we sit next to each other at Raiders headquarters. But Brandon Marshall, he went on Inside the NFL, said that Coach McDaniels is not a leader. I don't know if he just has, if it left a sour taste in his mouth or whatever the case may be, because he did. Coach McDaniels did coach him. What are your thoughts on Brandon Marshall's comments saying that the Raiders players aren't buying into his program, number one, and two, Coach McDaniels is not a good leader? Like, what do you get from a guy who kind of says and makes those kind of comments when he's not even inside that locker room?
Yeah, I missed that. I think I still haven't gone back and watched it. I wish I would have, but I think you told me about it now that I kind of forgot about it till right now. I never want to cast down on guys like that, especially former players that are on TV roles that actually say something that stimulates some conversation. I feel like so often it's vanilla and it's nothing anyone wants to hear. That being said, it does seem like a little bit of a stretch. I mean, like you said, he's not around. How much does he really know? Does he know anyone on the team? I think it's just too early to say anything definitively, in my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and say McDaniels has lost the team. He's not cut out to be a head coach. Look at his record dating back to the first 6 wins with the Broncos. And since then, I mean, it's been horrendous. I still think it's just too early to say, and the other way, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, he's turning around the Raiders. This guy knows everything. Just give him time. I know it's hard, and I know how high expectations there were this year. They're sitting 2-6. I just haven't changed my opinion a whole lot. There's been some disappointing things with him, especially in the play calling perspective. There's a couple things he does every game that kind of scratch my head, but I really didn't see the team turning on him at all. Now, maybe there's been some signs of that the last week. I think they're really shell-shocked after the Jacksonville game. Like, how did this happen? You've heard some of Devontae Adams' comments, but I really think it's too early to say, these guys don't like him, that they've turned on him. There had been literally zero signs of that until the last week, and now you could maybe play Sherlock Holmes and say that there's some things. There's still no definitive evidence. So I just need a little more time before I'm definitively, pro Josh McDaniels or anti Josh McDaniels, to be totally honest.
No, that's totally warranted. I'm pro Josh McDaniels all the way to the grave. Like, I think he's a very good coach. And again, sometimes when you build relationships with players or the coaching staff or whatever the case may be, to the naked eye, maybe they won't give you they'll give you the vanilla answer, like you say. But if you get, what I mean? If you have integrity and trust, maybe you can dig a little deeper and they might throw you a boner here. So I'll tell you, I'll say one thing about this, right? And just coming from the vibe inside that locker room and what I'm seeing, right? I don't think that the Raiders lost the trust or the respect of Coach McDaniels. I think winning solves everything. I really do believe that they're frustrated, all right? Because I think they do believe that they're a better team than the record indicates. However, to say that Coach McDaniels is not a leader on this football team, that's a direct shot at Coach. And for anyone to come in that, maybe it's from a coaching perspective because I used to coach, but if someone came at me because we were well, I'll give you a prime example. I took over Stratford. We took over a losing program. My first year, I went 2-9. All right, I went 2-9, and the parents are kind of saying like, "What's going on here?" It's like, hey, an empire wasn't built in a day. The next 3 years, we improved. Went to 500. The following year, we won 75% of the games, and the last year we went undefeated. So, I'm not saying that's the trajectory that Coach McDaniels is coming from, but to say someone's a bad coach based on one sample size to pull from, and again, people got to remember, like, yes, he had a bad go around with the Denver Broncos. He really did from a head coaching perspective, but he had to learn some things along the way in order to get this job that he got today. I'm sure those questions were brought up. Hey, look, like, what did you learn from your time in Denver to now? Like, what are you going to do differently? And Coach McDaniels talked about it. Maybe took on too much of responsibility, and that's why I think he works well with GM Dave Ziegler. So I think those two guys are kind of married with each other. And I think they're doing all the right things. Now, for me to sit here and say that maybe some players aren't frustrated with the way things are going, I'm not going to say that, because I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, just look at the body language. But at the end of the day, I do not think that the players lost any trust or show any signs of lack of respect for Coach McDaniels and what he's done for this organization. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about Derek Carr. We talk about this all the time. All of us talk about this all the time. Derek Carr, buy or sell? What do we think?
First of all, I see you're getting some comments. I don't want to be rude. D Menace said, "What's up?" to me. So I want to say, shoot it back. How's it going, man? Doing well. As far as this topic, God, I just feel like I flip-flop so much. Like, I will say his first 2 years in Vegas, I think I was both a buy. I felt like he was getting too much heat. I think you could see the progression of how comfortable he was starting to feel under John Gruden. And I thought people were way too low on the guy. I think he is about an average NFL quarterback. So I think I wrote columns going into each of the last 2 years, kind of defending him and saying, he's better than you expect. Now, with everything in place that he's had this year, and even I promise – I probably wrote something to this effect, so I'm not just patting myself on the back for saying this, but I felt like we got a little too high on him going into the season. You saw some rankings where he's a top 10 quarterback, top 12. Even then, I'm like, we got to push back just a little bit. I don't know that he's not a guy that's going to kill you, but he's also inconsistent. We know what his weaknesses are now. We've seen them time and time again. So, and I think he has 100% been a part of the problem. I know that is not exactly a hot take. There's a lot of people that were probably big time Carr defenders once that are now soured on him. But a lot of what their bad start falls on him and just his inconsistency. He's probably not put one full game together yet. Maybe the Chiefs game, probably his best game, I'm guessing off the top of my head. So, I mean, now I'd have to just be a little bit on the sell side, even though I feel like I've been buy most of the time since the Raiders moved to Las Vegas. I just don't know if the long-term vision, if Josh McDaniels is the coach you think he is, you said you're big time pro, that he's going to get this turned around. I kind of think they might have to go somewhere else. I think he might need his own guy, so to speak. So I'd be a little bit more on the buy side now, but I still think these just ultimate love the guy, hate the guy. I think it's too much. I think he's just somewhere in the middle, and he's been in the NFL 9 years now. That's what he's proven to be. That's what he's going to be for the rest of his career.
There's a question here. With Jonathan Abram being gone, who else besides Denzel Perriman brings physicality to our defense besides Nate Hobbs, who's injured?
Well, this is a deep cut for what first came to my mind. I probably shouldn't even share it because I'm going to look ridiculous. I don't know if he has any defensive snaps this year, but we saw the linebackers get gone. One of my favorite guys in training camp to watch was Darian Butler. I want to see him on the field. Talk about physical, man. He plays a lot like Perryman to me. I don't know how much we'll actually see him. I assume they want to see some young guys. I'm sure that's not the answer you're looking for. He's not the big he's not the big name, probably not going to turn around the season or anything. But as far as like young guys that could bring some physicality that I'd really like to see more of, see what they're made of, I would go with Darian Butler. I'm kind of drawing a blank. Otherwise, I mean, who else could it be? I mean, maybe one of the backup safeties we haven't seen as much lately. I mean, Roderick Teamer's a big hitter, but he hasn't been playing much defense either. That's what I think of when I think of physicality. So I don't know who comes to your mind.
For me, I would have to. I'm not going to piggyback on your guy because I do think you're right. He's the one guy that just, if you look on special teams and you look at the way he plays very much like Denzel Perryman. In fact, I would say their games mirror match each other extremely well. I think Darian Butler is a little bit more sound in coverage, but at the end of the day, from a physicality standpoint and just having that swagger to like, play to the whistle, Darian Butler is that guy. So I don't want to piggyback on that guy. Let's maybe I'll go with a guy like Neil Farrell. I've been high on Neil Farrell. This guy has a nasty mean streak that has gone unnoticed because he hasn't got the snap count. But this guy is nasty down in the trenches, man. I'm talking like this guy will hit you in the mouth and then hit you in the mouth 2 more times. He's not afraid to mix it up. He's all about being the enforcer down in the trenches. I'm really excited for Neil Farrell and what he can do and bring to the table. So that's 2 guys for, you have Darian Butler, then you have Neil Farrell. Now, are these guys going to be, like you said, transcending the freaking season and being the 2 guys that are going to catapult this team to a deep playoff run? I wouldn't go as far as saying that, but as far as from a physicality standpoint, these 2 guys definitely bring the hammer.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to add one more guy that I feel like is the obvious answer, but everyone overlooks him, maybe because he'll never talk to the media. He'll never talk to us. And trust me, Ryan and I have tried, but I feel like Rock Yassine's very physical for his position, especially. And then I saw, I think in the Jaguars game, he slammed whoever it was, Marvin Jones or Zay Jones. I don't know, too many Jones on the Jaguars, or maybe it wasn't even them. Maybe it was Christian Kirk. But as far as a cornerback, I think that guy's pretty physical. That'd be a word I'd use to describe him, and I think you'll see some more of that as the season goes on.
Yeah, Rock Yassine's very, very physical. And I think there's 2 players, I tweeted this out, that deserve second contracts with the Las Vegas Raiders. Duron Harmon and Rock Yassine are 2 safeties, or not, a safety cornerback hybrid in the secondary that can be brought back. Let's go ahead and talk about what Raider says. I think Brandon Marshall is still bitter. The game end season will tell me a lot about our team, GM, and head coach. Okay, so I think we have a question for you, Case, here. Or no, you just keep it. Oh, look at you getting respect. Look at this. On to 6 Soldiers says, Case, just keep it real. Speak from the heart.
Hey, I'm always keeping it real. It might get me in trouble on here, but there has been, and I might say something stupid, but I promise it's been from the heart. I haven't said no lies so far, and I don't plan on any going forward.
No, I like it, the unfiltered authenticity of what you bring to the table. That's what it's about. Here in the DOB, I always tell it like it is. Like, I don't paint a clear picture for nothing. Like, I don't just say anything just for clickbait. And I also don't just say the team's going to go 17-0 when they're going to go 0-17. I keep it 100 all the time. Let's go ahead and talk about something else. Let's talk about another player who was given a 3-year, $51 million contract in Chandler Jones. We talked about Derek Carr. Here's another guy that was forked out big money to be that guy next to Max Crosby. He's ultimately not getting it done at the midseason point. What are your thoughts on Chandler Jones entering 2023?
I'm worried about that contract. I mean, still 2 more years, and I don't have it in front of me, or I don't think I've dug into it too much. But I think it's not easy to get out of either. And Chandler Jones, great guy, and I don't think I was critical of the signing at the time, so I'm not going to sit here and say they never should have done this. Right. But I mean, right now that looks like kind of a hurdle that they're going to have to get over. Maybe can he show something, down the stretch of the season, go into next year on a high note. I think that's what you got to hope if you're a Raider fan. It kind of scares me just with the aging curve. I mean, he's kind of probably past, unless he turns back the clock somehow, he's probably past his days as the biggest impact player. I think that's a big concern going forward, honestly, because they can say all they want that he's been good in the run and he's done some hidden value. He has not been what they brought him here to be. And if I was a Raiders fan, that would concern me for the next 2 years.
Look, you don't sign a guy to a $17 million APY contract to be a 2-down run stuffer. You pay that guy to be a pass rusher. All right, let's not get it twisted. Secondly, you forked out so much money because you needed an edge rusher. You were counting on Jones to be the next big thing next to Max Crosby. Unfortunately, even in one-on-one situations, when I evaluate the game film, he's not even winning those one-on-one battles. Coach Graham always talks about winning your one-on-one battles. He's not winning his one-on-one battles. And at this point in the season, at the midway point, how much longer are we going to sit here and say, hey, come on, Chandler Jones, it's halfway through the season already. Give Tayshaun Bauer a chance. Give Malcolm Kuntz a chance. Give some of these younger guys a chance, because in order for GM Dave Ziegler to formulate what he has and doesn't have for the 2023 scouting process to take place in undrafted rookie free agents and free agency and so forth, you have to build up your board how you see fit. But unless you don't know what you have and the guys that you already have on your roster, how can you formulate that analysis and be true to yourself and saying, hey, look, this is what this guy can do and this is what this guy can't do. So again, for me, it's very tough for me to say buy on Chandler Jones when he really isn't getting done. And this is some numbers that I ran through, Case. All right, here, just bear with me for a second. If he was cut June 1st, pre-June 1, they would have a $24.1 million cap hit because of the dead money tied to his contract. If he was cut post-June 1, he would have a $14.5 million cap hit. So if basically what I'm trying to say is they can't get rid of him. Like, even if they wanted to, there's just too much dead money tied to that contract to where you just echoed it can't be done, because who's going to take on that contract, number one, and two, they're stuck.
Yeah.
They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Okay, so speaking of edge rushers, since we're on this topic, what do you think of Malcolm Kuntz and Tayshaun Bauer? I spoke with Tayshaun Bauer a little bit today, and Malcolm Kuntz, I talked to him last week. Both these guys seem to be eager to get on the playing field. Of these two players, which one do you believe would have bigger success if they had a bigger snap count?
Well, Bauer's the guy I want to see more. I mean, I feel like I've seen, and I know he didn't play a whole lot of last year, but towards the end of the year he did, and we've seen Kuntz some this year, and I think he's a nice player. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I don't really see him being a huge difference maker. I kind of see maybe a rotational edge rusher type of guy. He can do some good things, but I mean, Bauer's a guy who really flashed in the preseason, and who knows, he's been in the league for a while. Josh McDaniels usually doesn't give us anything, just talks around questions like that. But I really thought he was hinting at today that Bauer is going to be active, if not for this game, then maybe in a couple weeks. I do think we're finally going to get to see some of Tayshaun Bauer, and he was fun to watch in the preseason. I know I keep going back to the question, but physicality, that's another guy. I feel like he's physical. He can put a hit on. So I think, as far as potential, I'd probably be a little bit higher on Bauer. I think Kuntz is probably the safer player right now. You've seen what you have in him. He's fine, but why not get Bauer in there and see if maybe you uncover some treasure, because it looked like in the preseason, maybe it was possible. I'm excited to see him out there in one of these games.
If I'm being 100% honest with you, I'm surprised that Tayshaun Bauer has been a healthy scratch throughout the whole entire year. Like, he hasn't really got any playing time. That kind of was one of the things that I was like, you want to talk about head scratching moves? Is a head scratcher for me, because like we always say, it's like, the best 53, the best 5 should play on the offensive line. We talk about this, but at the end of the day, is it really the best 5? Is it really the best 53? Or is it because this guy gets paid X amount of money, he's playing? I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone. I'm just trying to keep it 100. But on the flip side, you can kind of say, well, they got rid of Alex Leatherwood. But then again, I can always go back and play, my doppelganger and be like, well, shoot, like, they ain't draft him. So what do you expect, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's like, if the best players are going to play, some of these players maybe behind should be getting at least a shot. And if they don't work out, then you can roll back with the players that weren't going to get done in the first place anyways, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I do think, like I said, I feel like McDaniels was a little bit open with us. And I do think a big reason that he cited, and I think it's probably true, is that he doesn't feel like Bowers is valuable on special teams. So when it comes down to those last few guys that are active, he doesn't really feel like he has a role in the kicking game. So that's part of it. But I don't necessarily disagree with you, and hopefully we get to see him here in the next couple weeks.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the offensive line. It was looking really strong when Alex Bars was inserted in the starting lineup. Looked very promising from earlier weeks. Not saying it was an all-pro cast, but it did have an effect on Josh Jacobs' running game, and he was averaging over 100-plus rushing yards and, being tops in the running game. What are your thoughts on the offensive line moving forward, and what is the best 5 in your opinion?
Oh, that's a tough question. It's still been better than I expected, even despite they've kind of taken a step back in the last 2 weeks. I think we might have briefly talked about this guy, but I am just so high on Dylan Parham. I think they got a huge deal in the 3rd round on him. I know he's had some breakdowns, and I feel like maybe his plays, that's just the nature of being an offensive lineman, especially a guard. When you have a bad play, I feel like that's what everyone blows up and remembers. But just on a snap-by-snap basis, to me, whenever I lock in on that guy, I'm very impressed. I think he's a guy you really want to build around. So he's certainly one of the best. I mean, honestly, without going on any numbers, without having my Beast analytics in front of me, just off the eye test, I think he's been their best offensive lineman, which is crazy to say. Maybe Andre James, of course, still one of the best 5. If you're asking me to give my best 5, Colton Miller, I've been pretty disappointed with this year, but he's got to be on the best 5, of course. I think Munford is a guy you like going forward, that can really stick around in this league for a long time, but I still think Illuminor is better than him right now. So then for the fifth, I guess it comes down to the other guard spot. I'm just not sure who I'd go with. I feel like the Raider Nation, at least from what I can tell from the messages I get, is turned on the guy, but I'm just going to own up to it. I was high on Lester Cotton coming into the year. I thought he looked great in training camp, great in the drills. He's kind of fallen out of favor for one reason or another. We haven't seen him since, I think, week 3. But I don't know. I'm not a football coach for a reason, but if my life depended on it, you said, give me your top 5 offensive linemen. I gave you the 4 easily. I still don't know if I trust Alex Bars. I've seen a lot of John Simpson. Maybe he's a safer choice, but give me the upside of it. You're wearing the Crimson Tide hat. It's swaying me. I still might go with Lester Cotton being the 5th best offensive lineman. Tell me, is that crazy?
No, I think it should be Lester Cotton. And
I thought I was really hot taking that, but
no, that he was a guy that in training camp I was all over. Like I was like, oh, this guy's good. This guy can maul. He can be a phone booth guy. He can really push, and then hit that second level. I think the problem with Lester Cotton is lateral agility to hit that second level, like hit that second level target. If you watched in the preseason and throughout training camp, he did have some mishaps with those two, that double end game, that tackle and stunt game, which is called 2-man game or whatever the case may be. But, those things can get cleaned up with reps. Unfortunately, he was on the wrong end of the stick too many times. And that kind of led coach to say, hey, look, we're teaching and preaching this in practice. And we all see practice. They're teaching it. And on game days, it just wasn't registering. But no, I think Lester Cotton should be back inserted into that lineup because at the end of the day, like I said, if you're going to formulate the best 5 in continuity and help Josh Jacobs, right? Because Josh Jacobs needs to know who's blocking in front because he knows what his linemen can and cannot do. Like if they're running they don't run outside zone, but let's say they're running to the right and it's like it's a trap play, right? And it's a trap and he's like, oh, this interior lineman doesn't really do a good job at this, but Alex Bars does a better job, but he's not in there. It's Lester Cotton, right? Or vice versa. Lester Cotton does this well. Then he can kind of get skinny or can kind of slip the block how he sees fit and then hits that hole. So from that aspect, not only does the offensive line have to be all on the same page, but the running backs, the fullbacks, Jakob Johnson, of course, everybody has a role in the running game when it comes to knowing team chemistry. And so that's why I think it's very difficult to maybe take Alex Bars out in the process of inserting back Lester Cotton, because now you're kind of reformulating, okay, what's the continuity process like on these specific plays that we were running before that maybe this player can and cannot do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And honestly, there's probably not a huge difference between the two. I think Alex Bars at his best has been good, and especially as a run blocker, I think he has brought value there. But I don't know. I'm still kind of tantalized. Maybe it was just all fool's gold, but from what I've seen from Lester Cotton in the past 2 training camps and what little of practice I've gotten to see over the last 2 years, I really still kind of feel like there's something there. So it kind of makes me want to see him again.
All right, there's a question for you. I'm gonna let you read this one. So basically, they're asking about Max Crosby, one of the highest paid edge rushers, and people are saying he's not dominating, but in my grading system, he's dominating. He's still number 1 in my grading system of all edge rushers. What do you see from Max Crosby, and is that a fair assessment to say that he's not dominating?
Well, I hope this is the guy that told me to speak from the heart, because I'll speak from the heart, and I think he might not like my answer because I think he's been unbelievable. I mean, the bottom line is he's like the one guy on this defense that is consistently making plays. And I think we talked to him this week, or I actually wasn't over at a scrum, but I watched the video afterwards, and someone asked him about getting more attention. He said, oh, it's been this way for the last 2 years. Just from watching me, I feel like I kind of disagree. I feel like offenses are tailoring their whole game plan around slowing him down lately. I mean, he's getting double teamed basically every play. Sometimes there's a third guy looking at what he's doing. I think that's a result of everyone around him just having not been good enough. Now, I know it's probably disappointing. He's gone, I think, 3 straight games now without a sack, but he still had tackles for losses in those games. I think he's been really good. He might have had a down game or 2. That's one guy. I mean, if everyone else on this defense could be half as effective as Max Crosby, they would be ranked a lot higher, and they'd be in a lot better position now. So absolutely no concern for me from Max Crosby going forward. And I actually think the huge contract they signed him to, the $100 million extension or whatever, I mean, to me right now, for his position, a premium position, I think that looks like a value. And I think that's a guy that's going to be around for a long time and making a difference for a long time.
Yeah. And to me, Max Crosby, and I always try to tell people in the DOB here that it's not always about the box score, right? And Max Crosby talked about this during preseason, right? We talk about don't be a box score reader. Don't look too much into the stats, because a lot of players who make those stats, it could be the other players forcing that, like Aaron Donald, right, for the Los Angeles Rams. So to me, when you grade by a snap by snap basis and see, like you said, like teams are focusing on Max Crosby. I put it in layman terms. If you were on a sales team and you were number one in sales, right? But then let's say you're the rest of the team struggles, but then you guys break out even because of how well you are, right? Does that necessarily make you a bad team or a bad player because other people aren't picking up that slack? No, your production speaks volumes for itself on an individual basis. But you're not going to hear Max Crosby be like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing all the work." Like he's not going to be like, "Yeah, man, well, I don't know what Chandler's doing. Shoot, like go ask Chandler." And that's the funny thing about it is like I think too many fans want the honest, or I shouldn't say honest, but like an assessment that otherwise you wouldn't be given. So like I said, I think Max Crosby is fine. You think Max Crosby is fine. So he's fine. He's doing very, very well. A lot of protections are being slid his way. And ultimately, if you're going to blame someone, blame it on the other players who aren't winning their one-on-one battles. And that's not throwing shade, because I do think that they can get it done. They're just not getting it done. They're just not getting it done. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We have GM Dave Ziegler. I want to know what your thoughts are on him. Here's another guy that I'm really high on, GM Dave Ziegler. I really like him. I think he's going to be executive of the year in 2 to 3 years' time. Check the Beast receipt. I said it. I don't care if I get it wrong. I get some stuff wrong. So what? What are your thoughts on GM Dave Ziegler in his first season in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I like Dave a lot. I'd say I'm more on the pro side of him than McDaniel so far, although that's kind of strange to say because they're kind of a package deal. But I think free agency, you could point at some things and take some, demerits from a core. We already talked about the Chandler Jones contract. I don't know if they necessarily nailed everything there, but the draft, they didn't have a premium pick, and it seems like to me they found some pretty useful players on day 2 and day 3. So I think if you're buying Dave Ziegler stock, which I still think I am, I still think he's a really sharp guy. Yes. Seems like he does things the right way, and I would be excited about all the picks, all the capital they have in this draft coming up, because I think we're only halfway through year 1, so who knows? But to me, it looks like he had a pretty good draft class with very little to work with. All these guys made the team out of training camp. I think it was like the first time in 5 or 6 years that's happened with the Raiders, and we've seen most of them contribute. I'm high on Neil Farrell like you are. I thought he did some good things last week. We're starting to see Matthew Butler more. I already told you how much I love Parham. Munford, not a finished product, but pretty good for a 7th-round pick. So I think the draft has made me a little bit higher on Dave going forward.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, I'll take it a step further. When peeling back layers of the onion to really get to the core of what GM Dave Ziegler has really done for this organization. If you look around the free agency and you look at what he brought in, I was really high on Bilal Nichols. I mean, I think that was the most underrated moves in free agency. And I knew what they were getting. I've been following Bilal Nichols, grading him over the last 3 years, coming out of Delaware. And what I saw was a 2-down run stuffer who was really good from the interior. He's not going to be much of a pocket pusher, which people want him to be, but when you get a contract of 2 years, $11 million, you're not getting a double-digit sack artist from the interior. You're getting a sound run defender. And so I think that allowed GM Dave Ziegler to go ahead and move on from guys like Jonathan Hankins, get back that 6th-round pick, because at the end of the day, you already have a strong nucleus there with Andrew Billings and Bilal Nichols in run support. Not so much as a pocket pusher, which they're going to need in this upcoming draft or free agency, but right now, I really like the sound moves that GM Dave Ziegler has been making in the draft, but also in free agency as well. He's making really sound moves, and people tend to forget they brought in Rock Ya-Sin from the Yannick Ngakoue trade. And we talked about it. Rock Ya-Sin's playing really, really well outside of Max Crosby. So those are 2 guys right there can be foundational core pieces for that defense. And so when you look at those pieces that he brought in and then look at the landscape around the other GMs around the league, he's really doing a really good job in kind of solidifying the personnel that he wants and envisions for this football team. All right, let's go ahead and talk about something else. I don't know if I want to bring this one up, but forget it. You said to go with the flow. I want to talk about, and people here in the DOB want to talk about the loss of Jonathan Abram. They're like so gung-ho on talking about this. What are your thoughts on Jonathan Abram? Do you think it was weird that they waived him as opposed to trying to trade him? And now I know the reports out where they're trying to trade him. There are no suitors, but he was claimed. So they couldn't at least get a 7th-round pick with the Green Bay Packers for him?
Yeah, I might be a little more cynical on this front office and current staff than you. I mean, I think a lot of this is optics. They've underperformed. I don't think Jonathan Abram was helpful. I think the writing was on the wall. He wasn't going to be back next year. He was losing snaps. But I think with the way the season has gone, some of these releases and some of these strange moves are kind of like an indirect way of saying, oh, look what we were left with. We have this 1st-round pick who was a bust. This wasn't our fault. He was so bad we had to cut him in the middle of the year. So I do believe there's probably no trade interest there, and but I feel like, you're 2-6. You have the whole year. I feel like you could have kept him on the roster and just played him a little bit. I don't know about how they handle. I don't know if they're necessarily their intentions were so golden with the way they handled it, that they were just really trying to help the player out. Like I think Josh McDaniels said, I'm glad it worked out for Jonathan Abram. Maybe he'll be decent in Green Bay on special teams. Certainly, I think we all saw the video, or I know you and I did, and he was in good spirits. He was smiling, laughing. It was like his first year with the Raiders, where I think it just didn't work out with the Raiders, and the writing was on the wall. He was always in a bad mood. It really soured. So I don't know. I'm skeptical of the way it happened, but I'm happy it did happen. I do think it'll make for better for Abram, and it gives the Raiders a chance to see some young players. So I guess that's my thoughts.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some of your favorite players or guys that you thought were going to do well or up to the standard that they're doing here at the midway point. Who are some guys that you kind of envisioned throughout training camp? Like, hey, this guy might be a key player for this organization. Like, are there any players that you thought like, hey, maybe these guys were going to do well? They're doing pretty good at what I expected.
That did work out, or that didn't work out? I'm trying to think.
There's a few that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Just trying to find the diamonds in the rough.
One guy I think I'm still positive on, and I know we've talked about the rookies. We haven't seen him do much, but I'd say I was pretty high on Zamir White coming out of training camp, and I thought we'd see more of him. Now, I don't think it's anything he's done wrong. I think they've gone out of their way to say how much they like him going forward and how he can be a member of the team. But long term, but Jacobs has just been so good. So I was pretty high on him. I'm disappointed we haven't got to see more of him, but I get it. It makes sense. I'm trying to think of who else I was high on training. We already talked about some of my training camp all-stars. Lester Cotton, who obviously hasn't worked out. Nate Hobbs, I thought, I think I even wrote this. He was one of our cover stories for our preview magazine, The Weekly, that he was really going to make a star turn. I think Raiders fans already loved him, but the rest of the league, he was going to get notoriety. And I think that was starting before he broke his hand. I think, he might be the one I was highest on going out of training camp that I think actually has worked out despite the injury. But without the injury, I mean, I think the guy was unbelievable and should continue to be a really nice player for the Raiders to build the secondary around.
No wonder we sit next to each other. It's like you're stealing notes off each other's paper. I agree with you on Zeus White. Like, I thought Zeus White was going to be I know looking back, it's kind of, I don't know if dumb's the right word, but he's not being used. So I can't say that. We can't say that we're wrong in our analysis and what we saw during training camp throughout the preseason. But I thought Zeus White was a guy that can actually take the pressure off Josh Jacobs. I thought he was a guy that can be that featured back or showing signs of featured back, which is why they declined Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option. But Josh Jacobs, to me, if you were to ask me who the MVP of this season is, it's Josh Jacobs. And it's funny to say that when you have Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, but then these guys have been hurt. I think what made Josh Jacobs so much more valuable to that offense is Hunter Renfro's been out, Darren Waller's been out. So now you're going in the passing game and saying, hey, look, it's Devontae Adams or bust, or throw it deep to Matt Collins between the 20s, but that's about it. That's where Josh Jacobs really shined, because they knew that teams were going to be stacking the box, and he was still getting it done. Speaking on Josh Jacobs, there's been a lot of talk about him not returning next year, despite how well he plays this year. He's going to outplay his way in Las Vegas. There's other people saying that GM Dave Ziegler went on record in Jacksonville, or in Florida, I should say, and said, hey, look, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, everything's going to take care of itself. Well, odds are he's going to keep playing the way he's been playing. So my question to you is, what do the Josh Jacobs future looks like when you really can't franchise him, because that's going to be top 5 money? But I was talking about the transition tag, which would give the guy top 10 salary money and drop that figure from 10 to $8 million. What do you think Josh Jacobs will be playing next year if all goes well for him this year?
This is kind of the second time I faced this question today, so I'll say the same thing. I could be wrong. Who knows? And this might not be what people want to hear, but if I had to guess right now, I don't think he'll be with the Raiders. I just think, like you said, that the money is going to be too much. I think they're kicking themselves now. I think they wish they exercised his 5th-year option, but this is another one where I'll own up to it. I didn't think it was a bad decision at the time to not exercise it. I mean, the biggest reason, it's not anything against him. The reason why I don't think he'll be with the Raiders, you look at these guys' tendencies, Ziegler being in New England and McDaniels, the way they've valued running backs, so they just have not been, what they came from has not been a program that's going to tie up a whole lot of money at the position, especially for long term. Now, they didn't seem like the one to have a 3-down back who's going to get almost all the work, and that's what Josh Jacobs has turned in this year. So maybe he has won them over. Maybe it'll be different, but I don't know. I look back at that tendency and all the money they already have tied up for the skill positions going forward, and I do kind of think we'll see Josh Jacobs somewhere else next year.
I hate to say it. Talk to Josh Jacobs today. We can talk about that. We just talked about life in general, but gosh, I love Josh Jacobs a lot. I really do. As a person, as a player, I think he embodies everything. There's some kind of like human element that wants Josh Jacobs. I'm a huge fan of Josh Jacobs, maybe because I'm a Roll Tide Roll fan, but no, in all honesty, Case, you can't say that this guy doesn't embody everything that what GM Dave Ziegler wants in a player. But going back to the tendencies of what you said, what the Patriots do, what the winning way is not paying a running back. That's just not their winning way, I should say. It's not their winning way and their philosophy. So I'm with you. I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to return. I just think they drafted Zeus White for a reason in the 4th because they think he can be that guy. And they're just going to use the money to maybe solidify the offensive line with a guy like Jack Conklin or somewhere else. But it's going to be sad to see Josh Jacobs go because I really became a huge fan of him on a professional level. I just love the way he goes about his business. It's really hard. You got to put yourself in his shoes, right? When your employer says, no, I don't want to guarantee the last year of your contract, how do you stay motivated to play for that person? You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
you're working for the Las Vegas Sun and they say, hey, your contract's up next year. We're not going to renew it. Like, for me, you're telling me you don't have faith in me. I'm not saying GM Dave Ziegler, but I'm saying this is how I would take it personally. I would take it personally. 2, I would be like, okay, well, they don't think enough of me so screw it. I'm just, you know what I mean? But that's not how Josh Jacobs thinks. And that's what I'm saying. I have so much respect for Josh Jacobs because when Vinny B asked him the question during training camp, he was like, you know what? I can only control what I can control, and I'll let my play do the talking.
And he's really lived that. I mean, he's had chances to lash out and be upset, and he'll never say anything like that. And I totally agree with you from a personal level. He's one of my favorite guys on the team. I'll never forget. I think the year right before they were moving here, I went to the Super Bowl to do some Raiders related stuff. Mm-hmm. I had an interview with him because he was up for Offensive Rookie of the Year that year. And the Miami traffic during the Super Bowl is just the absolute worst thing ever. So I could not get there. I was freaking out because this was like our big story. I was gonna have a sit down with Josh Jacobs. So because I couldn't make it, he called me and I did the interview in traffic. So I always appreciated that about him. Like I don't think there's a whole lot of guys that would like go out of their way during their Super Bowl week to make sure I'm not like out of luck just because I was sitting in traffic for an hour and a half. So, and he's always been such a stand-up guy with the media. That's just one personal story, but I agree with you. Great guy. And I hope he catches on somewhere. It's just my hunch is it's not going to be in Las Vegas.
No, I agree with you. There. And best of luck to Josh Jacobs wherever he goes. He deserves every penny that he gets, whether it be in Las Vegas or somewhere else. All right, we're going to wrap this up with a 2-minute drill. Case Keefer, I told you it's coming. You know what this is about because we had our guy, Harry Ruiz on here a couple days ago. So it's a game of this or that. First thing that comes to your mind, you're going to have to say the first thing that comes to your mind. We're not going to bring up some of the questions that were asked previously because that wouldn't be fun. So let me know when you're ready and I'll get you started.
I don't know what's coming. I know you told me 2 things you asked Harry, but that's it. So I don't want there to be any illusions of me having forewarning. I'm going off the cuff here, but yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Getting to know Case Keefer in the 2-minute drill. Hot dogs or burgers?
Burgers, but why not both? Take one of each too.
No, you have to pick one.
Well, I'll take burger. I said burgers. That was my first answer, but I'm also telling you all right. I like the cookout where you can get a little of both.
All right, when we do a barbecue at my place, I'll make sure we have burgers. Lobster tail or crab?
Lobster tail.
Yes.
Yeah.
My guy.
It's close. I like crab too, but Can't beat a lobster tail.
No, lobster tail. It's the best. All right,
Yeah.
Alabama or Auburn?
I think you know my answer to this one. It's got to be Roll Tide. I'm not a fan of either, but I lived in Alabama for a long time in Birmingham. My little brother went to Alabama. I went to Kansas, and I feel like the Kansas State rivalry is a lot like the Alabama Auburn rivalry. And to me, I might anger someone saying this, but I just feel like Auburn and Kansas State are both little brother, so to speak, and I think they have an inferiority complex, and that drives me crazy. So definitely Alabama. Shout out to my brother Clay. He's the biggest reason why Alabama.
I don't know if I told you this, but one of my hometown, I guess you would call it a hometown hero. So basically, we grew up in the same town, Japantown in downtown San Jose. His name's Rex Walters. He was drafted, played for Kansas.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then he also was drafted by the New Jersey Nets at the time, and he's being half Japanese and a Japanese American, and me being half Japanese, it kind of like he was a guy that I could really look up to, and Rex Walters is a guy that I always remembered. And when he went to Kansas and played with Adonis Jordan, and who else was that? I think there was a guy named Pollard was on that team. But anyways, that Final Four team, when I went to the Final Four, I became a Kansas Jayhawks fan. So.
Yeah,
for basketball,
he's still beloved at Kansas. Definitely.
Is he really?
He's coaching now, right?
Yeah.
Kansas basketball is like the level of Alabama football. So all those guys are like legends, and definitely people still hold Rex in high regards. That's cool. I didn't know you had a connection there with him.
Yeah. So like a lot of my family friends played ball with him. So like, because we grew up in J-Town, so he played zebras and everything like that. So yeah, it's just he was one of the guys that I looked up to. Belonged to the same church and everything. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles. You don't even have no discussion. I'm from the South, like I said, Alabama, Waffle House. Come on, pancakes, they're delicious. I'm not putting anything against them, but waffles are in a different tier.
Okay, please this is what people were telling me when they pick pancakes. And there's nothing wrong with pancakes. I love a good pancake. I love a good flapjack. But they were saying because pancakes you can do more with. You can put blueberries on it. You can put strawberries on it. I don't know. I just like the ridges in the waffles. I like the texture. I like the butter. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about the waffles. I think it's the texture, to be honest with you.
Oh, why do you like waffles? I agree. I think that's the difference, honestly. As lame as that sounds, just the ridges on the texture. But I also do think I know I teased it, but growing up in the South and my dad's from Atlanta where there's a Waffle House like literally summer on each corner across from each other. So I don't know, just a lot of childhood memories of eating those delicious sweet cream waffles at Waffle House. I don't know. It was always going to be waffles for me. Not even a conversation.
Dang, we agree on a lot of stuff. Okay, here's one. Netflix or Disney Plus?
Netflix.
Really?
I'm not a Disney guy.
Bruh. I love Disney.
I mean, I have a 2-year-old, so maybe he's going to get into Disney, and I'll be fine with it. I'm not saying I hate it or anything, but not my thing.
You're going to be into it. I'm going to get you on Disney Plus, and you're going to be watching I'm telling you, you're going to be watching some shows.
And Netflix has like everything. What can Disney Plus possibly offer that's better?
I know it's corny. I'm like a nerd. Like, you know this about me. I'm kind of like nerdy. I like the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Have you seen? You know what the Mighty Ducks are? Have you seen Game Changers? I love the
Mighty Ducks movies growing up, for sure.
Okay, they have Game Changers, bro. Okay, but the second season, I want to read it for you. It sucks because Gordon Bombay is not in it. He contract situation. But anyways, might be a Josh Jacobs situation. No, but seriously, the first season's dope. You gotta watch Disney Plus. Do you have Disney Plus?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, you gotta watch it. Yeah, Game Changers is awesome. There's a few other ones, but I'll talk to you about it tomorrow or on Sunday when I see you. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Netflix, everyone. Yeah, you can't say not Netflix because Netflix is everything. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm fine with being contrarian on a lot of things, but I don't know how. Not an Android guy. I hate getting in group texts with people that have an Android and then you can't leave, you don't get stuff. It's the worst. That's like literally one of my pet peeves. So definitely Apple.
Now people are gonna do it. I know how to piss off Case.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. And I know. I think you might have commented today. I know people make fun of me because I have 2 phones because I have a work phone and a personal phone. And at one point I was like, I don't need 2 iPhones, so I got an Android. This was a long time ago now, like 8 or 9 years ago, and I just absolutely hated it. It was the biggest piece of junk. Sorry, I don't want to get in trouble
Would you have a
cursing.
Thunderbolt?
But so yeah, I hated it, and everyone tells me, "Oh, they've gotten so much better." I'm like, "You had your one chance." I hated my Android I had, so it's 2 iPhones for me.
All right. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Okay, okay. Why?
Yeah.
Why you like Christmas better? Why? Because of memories, or is there a certain
I
tradition that you
mean,
do?
despite having strong opinions on all your food questions, I'm really a pretty picky eater, and I just
Oh,
don't like Thanksgiving food that much. If it's so good, why don't we eat it year round? We eat it once a year and act like it's so great. I just don't get it. I'm a Christmas guy. I feel like Christmas was just bigger in my family growing up too, so definitely Christmas.
okay. I'm going to say Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving leads into Christmas, and around Thanksgiving time, well, my family's very diverse. Like I'm Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Sicilian. So I'm everything. So you get different types of food. It's not just straight traditional turkey and all that. We do have that mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, all that good stuff. Grits, not. Oh yeah, sometimes we had grits, and then sometimes we also had stuffing. Stuffing's my favorite. I love stuffing. Some people don't like stuffing, but I love stuffing. But no, Thanksgiving has always been my favorite because you get all different types. So I always got different types of food on that day. All right, this is a fun one. This is kind of like an inside joke. No one else is gonna get it. I don't know if I want to say it.
I don't know what it could be. This would be good.
All right, Jace or Jesse.
Ooh, that's a good question. Can I just say not Chase? I'm fine with either. I just hate Chase. When people call me Chase, that's the word. So,
Okay, it's an inside joke. No one's gonna get it, but people who watch it, other beat writers will get it. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, hold on. All right, Peyton Manning or Joe Montana?
Ooh, man. I mean, with my age, I watched way more of Peyton Manning, so I feel like I should probably go with him. But I don't know. Some of my earliest football memories are watching Joe Montana. Actually, when he was on the Chiefs, because I was more in that part of the country. I was too young for the 49ers, so I might go hot take and go Joe Montana. But let's be real, you can't go wrong with either. But I'll go with Joe Montana just barely because I remember some of my earliest football memories are remembering or seeing him. So I'll go Joe Montana. But it's tough.
It's a tough one. That's why I make it tough. I
Yeah.
think Joe Montana because I grew up watching him and from being from the Bay, but it's a hard one because Peyton Manning, you can make an argument that he was the best pre-snap read quarterback in the entire NFL ever. Micah Parsons or Aaron Donald?
Whew, can we get I mean, what's the rubric here? Is it going forward? Is it I mean,
Okay, here, I'm gonna make it easy for you. If you were to start an NFL franchise, not fantasy or anything like that, just start an NFL franchise, and you were on the clock, you had the first pick, who would you take?
I'd take Micah Parsons for sure going forward. But I think he, as amazing as he's been through a year and a half, I still think he has a ways to go to match Aaron Donald's career. But if I'm starting a team right now with his age and what he's shown, I'm going Parsons for sure. But that's taking nothing away from Donald, who's obviously an incredible player. And Parsons still has a way to go to reach that level overall, in my opinion.
It's like 1A and 1B. This is another 1A and 1B, all right? So if you were to start a franchise, which wide receiver would you rather have? Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill?
God, are they? I'm trying to think. Are they about the same? I'm thinking they are about the same age. I'm gonna not be a slave to the moment and say Cooper Kupp because it really makes me think with the start of the year that Tyreek Hill has had, and I don't think you could go wrong saying him. But I think coming into the year, it would have been just right away. I would have said Cooper Kupp. So I don't want to overreact just too much to 8 games. I don't know. I think maybe he slows down a little bit as the year goes on. So might be crazy, but I'm gonna stick with Cooper Kupp.
You're not crazy. I would have picked Cooper Kupp too. So
Okay.
we're both crazy. That's
Yeah.
Two crazies in the pod.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here's one. All right, and we talked about this earlier, but I was gonna pick these 2 players: Pat Surtain or Sauce Gardner.
Oh, I heard someone in the media room today just give an impassioned plea for how could you ever take another cornerback over PS2. So I don't know. I don't want that to bias me, but I'm gonna go just just a personal. I'm a bigger fan of Sauce. So it's his rookie year. Maybe he's still got a little more upside. Obviously, Surtain, I'm taking nothing away from. He's been incredible, but I don't know. Something about Sauce. I love that guy, and I bet on him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, as you know. He got his highest. I think I got 22-1 after 3 weeks when he hadn't really done anything. So he's been awesome since then. That's one of the best bets I've made this year. Really good timing there. So I've been rooting for Sauce all year. I can't cheat on my guy now. I'm going to go with Sauce.
Yeah, I picked him for preseason Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I hope I'm right. I hope you're right because I like to be right.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. If you were a GM, would you rather have a top 5 wide receiver or a top 5 edge rusher?
I'd say top 5 edge rusher.
There you go. See, that's what I'm talking about, bro. That's what I'm talking. Defense wins championships, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I hold. Yeah, I think there's a bigger edge. I mean, receivers. I feel like the drop off from, like, let's say the number 5 wide receiver to the number 20 wide receiver isn't as much as like the number 5 edge rusher to the number 20 edge rusher. I think it's a bigger edge to have a great edge rusher, in my opinion.
All right, so here's another one. All right, last but not least, Naked City Pizza or Grimaldi's?
Ooh. That one's tough. I hope our friend Adam Hill of the Review Journal isn't listening. He will probably not. He's one of my best friends and probably will not be anymore if he hears my answer. But I'm going to go with Grimaldi's just based on consistency. I feel like Grimaldi's, you go to, you know what you're getting. Naked City sometimes can be transcendent. You think it's the best pizza you ever had. And then sometimes they get lost trying to deliver you the pizza, or they forget to cook it. It's just always kind of it's part of its charm, but I feel like it's not as well put together as Grimaldi's. You're getting a more proven commodity, if that makes any sense.
Wait, I haven't been there because Adam told me to go there, which I am. I trust Adam. Good guy. And you know, obviously, I think he knows his pizza as you do, right? You guys all, I mean, pizza is a big thing in Vegas. I didn't realize how big pizza was here in Vegas. I mean, there's so many pizza parlors around here. Grimaldi's, I like Grimaldi's. I mean, me and my girlfriend, that's our favorite spot. We went to Pizza Rock. I think it was by your recommendation. We went to Pizza Rock. We tried Pizza Rock. It was good, but not as good as Grimaldi's. I don't think we found a place that topped Grimaldi's, so we are going to check out Naked Pizza this weekend and see how it is. So I'll give you the rundown on that, and I'll let you know what I think of the pizza. But no, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun, Case. Well, there's one last question before I let you go. Who do you think Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels will draft in the first round? Obviously, we don't know the draft order yet, but I mean, this is kind of like a crapshoot question.
Man, I gotta be honest. I haven't dug into any drafts. Probably a failing of mine, given the way the Raiders season is done. But I haven't dug into the draft stuff at all. I know the top quarterbacks, of course, and I watch a lot of college football. I bet on a lot of college football. So I do have an idea, but just as far as I don't know. We were talking earlier today. I don't know if you said it, but we think they'll be I think they're going to be picking like 9th.
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I don't think that's high enough to get one of those real premium quarterbacks. And I just don't know where they go. Hopefully you have a better answer. I really am drawing a blank. What position do you even go towards? I haven't put a lot of thought into this yet.
I mean, it depends, right? If you're GM Dave Ziegler and you have a top 5 pick, my best bet is there's always going to be one team that always comes up for these quarterbacks. I mean, that's the hottest trend right now. It's like, you got to have a Josh Allen. You got to have a Pat Mahomes. You got to have this. What you do. I mean, it's a pass happy league. I get it. If I was GM Dave Ziegler, I don't care where my draft position is, would it be 6, would it be 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the case may be. I would try to accumulate as much draft capital as I can because there's a lot of holes on both sides of the football. So the more darts you have at the board, the better off your chances. Because when you run the analytics as I have, and I have a grading system of the analytics, the odds of hitting on first round talent based on the needs that you want, that really has a direct formula in how you're going to formulate the draft class. So for me, if I was GM Dave Ziegler, I don't know what my draft position is, but I would like to accumulate more picks if possible. But thank you so much, man, for tuning in. I know you got your kid over there and your wife.
He just got home. He wants to show his present.
Oh, really?
What'd you get?
Hi.
He just walked in here, literally, as you're saying that. You say hi?
Hi.
Yeah.
He's cute.
So, yeah, sorry I couldn't give you a better answer on the draft. I just, I don't know. Maybe look at who's like the top-ranked cornerback right now. I think you could take a cornerback about where they're drafting and get a good one.
A quarterback or corner?
Corner.
Oh, Jerry Porter, that Jerry Porter, is that his name?
Joey Porter Jr.
Joey Porter. Sorry, Joey
Yeah.
Porter. Yeah, Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State. All right. Well, thank you so much, Case. I had a lot of fun. And you guys can follow my guy on Twitter. I also posted his social media in the description box below. Go ahead and follow him at Case Keefer. Case, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on Sunday, my guy.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good talking to you.
All right, buddy. All right, that was Case Keefer, my guy from Las Vegas, son. I am going to put his social media up on my other social media platforms because we are on so many. And going on from there, we will go ahead and let you guys know what's going on Sunday as we keep things hot here in the DOB. I hope you guys had a lot of fun today. I know I did, and that was just a great interview. So we're going to do more of these Blitz Pickup videos, live streams with other Raiders beat writers, because I think it's good to hear from other people other than myself on their take, because at the end of the day, we're there 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So it's good hearing a different perspective and a fresh perspective other than just what I'm saying, because it's good knowledge, and knowledge is power. So at the end of the day, it's all about the good vibes only here. And so I try to bring the freshest content as I can for all of you guys to enjoy. So I hope you guys had another great. What's going on here? Oh, no, I got some comments over here. Oh, shoot. I guess this comment. I didn't know those comments were popping on Facebook now. I don't know why it's not linking on YouTube, but that's weird. It used to be linking on YouTube, but it ain't leaking. Anyways, some of these questions are already answered. But no, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I had a lot of fun. And again, we'll be hopping on more live streams and bringing on more guests here because, like I said, it's just good to have more voices into the DOB so you guys can have a better understanding of how the dynamics work, whether it be coming from a beat writer's perspective, a national media perspective. If you guys are just new to following me, we have my, a couple of my mentors, Steve Weiss, Mike Yam, Jim Trotter, these guys that you see on regular on NFL Network, they hop on the DOB as well. So I'm sure they'll be coming back and forth. You also have Randy Mueller, a good friend of mine. He's been in the league for so many years, executive of the year back in 2000, GM of the year in 2000. So he'll be on the show as well. There's a lot of things that we have going on in the works here. So it's just about lining each other's schedules up so we can go ahead and focus on exactly the task at hand and the topic of discussion. So had a lot of fun here. Again, we are going to do it all again on the DOB later on in the week. I might do a Pick 6 live stream tomorrow. Not sure yet how my schedule is going to line up because I still have to watch game film and catch up on that as we wrap up week 9 heading into week 10. So again, when I hop on the live stream, you're not watching this for the 1 hour and 7 minutes and 14 seconds here that we're on right now live. You're watching it for the 65, 70 hours of game film that I do to formulate that analysis. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Please share this video if you like it. Please give it a thumbs up and definitely share on other social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. It would greatly help us push the algorithm to other people, other like-minded people like you who like the Raider Nation. And that way it will help the DOB family grow here in the dark side of BEASTwriter. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I had a lot of fun on this Aloha Family Friday. I hope you guys had a lot of fun, and we'll run it back on Monday. So stay tuned for that as we keep things hot here in the DOB. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good night. BEASTwriter out.